Well, it's that time of the week. Yes, it's the time we go out to California and check in with Michael Snyder, and he went to some movies this week and is here to tell us about them. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Alex. And hi, everybody else. Yeah, it's movie time, live from Los Angeles, and I guess we'll get right down to it. For some reason, the paranormal thriller The Conjuring and the 3 spin-off movies it spawned, including this week's release, Annabelle Creation, are a cut above the usual B-movie horror cheapie. It could be quality actors like Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, who played the married paranormal investigators in The Conjuring and its sequel, or maybe it's like snappy direction, lean scripts, deeply disturbing imagery that hits us on this kind of subconscious level, and there's also the initial based on a true story element of the first movie in the series, but ultimately Annabelle Creation is kind of perfunctory, conventional stuff in the genre. That said, it works for what it is. Here, a couple of fine and respected actors, the Australians Anthony LaPaglia and Miranda Otto, play an American husband and wife who live in a stately rural house in what seems like, I don't know, the early 1950s. So this couple loses their young daughter, and then years later they open up their home as kind of a makeshift orphanage, welcoming a young nun and her charges, a group of orphan girls, to live with them. And in short order, a couple of the girls realize there's something wrong with the husband and wife, and there's something wrong with the house. The husband used to handcraft fancy dolls for a living, including a doll that looks suspiciously like Annabelle, the haunted doll in the other Conjuring movies, including the previous one, which was named Annabelle. So this is a prequel to a prequel about the origins of that very demon doll. And it works, even including a Marvel-type post-credit sequence leading to the next movie in the series, I guess. I don't know whether it's going forward or backward in the timeline. By the way, the girls playing the orphans are quite good, but all the violence and scary stuff in the movie gives me pause regarding whether or not it was appropriate for the youngest actresses to be participating in visceral scenes such as those in Annabelle Creation. I mean, this is going to work on video. You may want to check out what we used to call a bargain matinee. Annabelle Creation, it is what you expect it is, only a little bit better. The Glass Castle has the air of a prequel. I'm sorry, it's not really a prequel, but I'm kind of overloaded with prequels these days. The Glass Castle seems like something designed for awards season, with like highly decorated actors, including a recent Oscar winner, Brie Larson, as well as Woody Harrelson and Naomi Watts, all playing pivotal roles. The movie was developed from an autobiographical bestseller written by the main character in the film, a successful journalist in New York City named Jeanette Wells, whose family life while growing up was nomadic, to say the least. In fact, it was damned rough, with a willful, swaggering, short-tempered working-class dad from West Virginia, who's played here with a really mean relish by Woody Harrelson, and kind of an acquiescent hippie artist mom, played with sort of spacey faux optimism by Watts. And they're dragging Jeanette and her 2 sisters and her brother all over the U.S., where they squatted and connived and hustled and barely got by, despite what appears to be genuine love between them. But this dysfunctional existence was a trap of sorts for the kids. So the movie swings back and forth from the late 80s to a couple decades earlier. It's one part brutal memoir, one part coming-of-age tale, and one part Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, with parental uneasiness as the grown-up Jeanette's button-down New York suitor here is played by Schmidt from TV's New Girl, Max Greenfield, and played kind of as an uptight guy who still cares about Jeanette. You never buy Greenfield and Larson as a couple, even one that's mismatched. That's kind of a problem. The director, Destin Daniel Critton, really impressed me with his breakthrough movie, Short Term 12, which also featured Larson in a lead role. But the last third of this film seems forced and conforming to Hollywood kind of underdog, triumph over the odds tropes, and it didn't seem to earn its emotional epiphany, which involves forgiveness. The Glass Castle is, it doesn't quite cut the mustard. Ingrid Goes West, on the other hand, is quite on the money in its skewering of the self-regard and exhibitionism of the digital age and the perils involved as well. It's a mix of drama, satirical comedy, and weirdness, and it stars Aubrey Plaza as Ingrid, a needy, unhinged young woman who becomes obsessed with a social media star named Taylor, played by Elizabeth Olsen, who was on a roll lately. She was terrific in Wind River. And she's so obsessed that Ingrid moves to California to become best friends with Sloane, with Taylor, and it's with unsettling results. I mean, it's kind of BFFs or bust for Ingrid, and the way this plays out is pretty delicious. They could have called this thing actually hashtag single white nerd. I mean, it's funny and dark and screwed up and even a little upsetting, especially when you consider how any and all of us can be stalked in the digital age with a precision and kind of a dangerous depth like never before. Plaza is a creep here, but she's a creep that keeps you engaged. And Matt Spice, who directed and co-wrote Ingrid Goes West, uses her and Olsen to their best advantage as first companions and then enemies. With Little Hours and Ingrid Goes West, Plaza's on a nice roll of her own. And good supporting work here as well from the various actors. I thought this was cool, and I went in, with a bit of a chip on my shoulder, but it worked. Now, the best film I've seen in the past week or two is Good Time, and it comes from the gritty, low-budget movie-making Safdie brothers, Joshua and Ben. It's like a 21st century update of classic Scorsese, I mean, in the best possible way, with a dash of mean streets, a little after hours, and a genuine affection and understanding of, that New York state of mind. I totally loved Good Time. Two brothers try to rob a bank, everything goes wrong, and the younger brother ends up in jail. Constantine, played by Robert Pattinson of Twilight, is the older brother, and he's sort of heedless and not as cunning as he thinks. Nick is played by the movie's co-director, Benny Safdie, and he's mentally challenged. I mean, imagine Lenny and George in Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men as petty modern criminals in New York City. Constantine vows to free Nick from prison. His plan leads to this wild odyssey all over New York City with the cops on his tail. This is dark, sharp, tragic, and surprisingly funny at times as well. It's the best performance of Pattinson's career to date. He's kind of unrecognizable as Constantine, desperate, scheming, kind of corrupt, but devoted as a brother. I mean, he's a real actor. And the supporting cast is so good, particularly Jennifer Jason Leigh as Constantine's victimized girlfriend, and Barkhad Abdi as a security guard, that you kind of want more from them. But Good Time is so satisfying, and Pattinson is so impressive and believable as this New York thug who can't get out of his own way, that you can forgive the Safdies for concentrating on the heart of their story. Okay, so just in a couple of quickies here, I want to just tell people to avoid The Only Living Boy in New York. I mean, it's the title of a Simon and Garfunkel song, and it's a movie like Good Time is set in contemporary New York and has to, of course, include the song somewhere in the film. And I was sort of, this movie's directed by Mark Webb, who did this wonderful romantic comedy, 500 Days of Summer. But I was sadly disappointed here. I should have seen it coming. The screenwriter, Alan Loeb, has done some insufferable stuff like The Space Between and this Will Smith stinker, Collateral Beauty. I mean, you kind of want this to be good. The son of a publisher, has just gotten out of school. He doesn't know what he's going to do, and he ends up getting befriended by this character, this sort of enigmatic character played by Jeff Bridges. I mean, Pierce Brosnan plays the father. Kate Beckinsale is the father's mistress. There's all this kind of romantic intrigue, but it just doesn't work. And the lead character, Callum Turner, is the actor here. You just don't give any damns about the guy at all. A real misfire. And I just want to say quickly, the trip to Spain is not as good as the trip to Italy, which is the second in the culinary road trip series that began with The Trip, which is following a couple of very talented British comedians and actors, Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon, as they go on an eating restaurant skewed trip through northern England. And this one is through Spain, and it's their usual bantering, bickering, one-upsmanship, and dueling impressions. And if you like that stuff, this is right in your sweet spot. And I did, and I enjoyed it. It's the third in the series, and who knows where they'll go. Michael Winterbottom directed. What do you got going on, buddy?
Nothing, really. The only thing that I think is worth watching is a show called Snowfall. John Singleton created it, and it's kind of like Boys in the Hood 2. It's fascinating. It's good. It's very good.
The trip to Spain is 6 half-hour episodes as well as a movie, and you can probably catch them in streaming circumstances. So if you like that, you can see fuller version of their little journey through España.
I guess no comment on what I had to say, but anyway.
No, I have not had a chance to see the John Singleton thing.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But you liked it though.
Oh yeah. I think it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Cool.
Anyway, tell them where they can find you.
You can catch me on Twitter at Culture Blaster and on Facebook at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page, and back here hopefully next week.
All right, thank you. And there's more GABNet coming right up.